Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 8th edition of Shipping and the Law. I'm sorry if we started a little bit late, but we will try to finish in time. I would like to thank all of you who are coming from, sometimes from very far parts from the world for this annual appointment. And we in Naples try to show you every year a new venue, and this is the turn of the Royal Palace and of this beautiful theater, which was built in 1768, which is the year of the marriage of the King of Naples, Ferdinand IV, with the daughter of the Emperor of Austria, Maria Carolina. And it's also the same year that this piece from Haydn's symphony called The Sea Storm was written. This symphony is considered, the start of the musical romanticism. So I hope we will have a very romantic conference in this 1 day and a half of proceedings. And we have obviously also some very interesting speakers and sessions. I think that this morning we have a session that is divided in two parts, and the first part will be chaired and moderated by my friend Terry Macalister. I think you know him. If you don't know him personally, you have probably read what he wrote on the columns of The Guardian and quite regularly still on trade winds. I would like to thank all of you, to thank the media, the Italian media, the international specialized media, and all the participants to this conference. And since we are late, I would stop my little speech and ask please Terry to come on the stage and to call and introduce the participant to the first part of the morning session of the conference, which has got also a very shipping name. It's full steam ahead in the age of uncertainty. Let's see if this uncertainty, thanks to Terry and all of you, will become a little bit less certain or more uncertain after our morning proceedings and the rest of this conference. Thank you very much. Terry, the Baroness Worthington, unfortunately, is not here with us today, and I will take her seat so I can follow your work from a special position. Unfortunately, I'm not the Baroness. But she sent you something, I believe. Is that correct, Terry?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
I will mention that in a minute. Exactly where we've got to that, it seems very loud. Thank you very much, Francesco, for that introduction and inviting me to chair this round table in such an extraordinary place of consummate beauty, elegance, charm, in the most wonderful city, a very vibrant one. And what I particularly like about it and feel is so important is the way the city has kept its maritime industry right in the center. And it's really impossible to come to Naples without seeing this real shipping, container ships in the bay there, and cruise ships and passenger vessels. And at a time when shipping is struggling in many ways to attract public attention and policymakers to understand the importance of shipping links, one of the problems it's had to overcome is that it's not in people's backyard. And if they see ships and feel a tangible understanding of them, then it's much easier to make policies that really are useful for the industry. I would also like to say it's utterly delightful for me to see young people here in the audience. Too often at conferences one comes to, and it's the grey-haired types like me. We are the older generation. What we really need to do is encourage the younger generation, and issues like China that we're going to come on to in a minute, and climate change in particular, is very much of importance to the younger generation. I find no lack of understanding of the importance of the issue if I'm in the room with younger people, in a way that I can't say, unfortunately, is always the case with my own generation. Francesco and myself wanted to do this rather differently from normal conferences where people stand up and make speeches and then sit down again, and there's a lack of interaction sometimes, which is why we've done it in this kind of more informal way. And I will introduce my fellow panelists in a second. But we also wanted to do something different in terms of the kind of themes we were looking at. Instead of looking or starting with the granular issues of, say, the freight markets or digital disruption or safety, which often comes up in shipping conferences, we wanted to stand back, at least for the first two sessions that I'll be chairing, and then my Loyalist colleague Dave Osler will be chairing, and look at some larger, grander themes that are there in the background but are often not looked at too closely. So the two we're going to look at first of all in this first session is China and climate change. Both of them extremely important, both of them quite different as issues, but very important elements of change. China's obviously played a hugely positive trade role. They created what Martin Stopford described as the biggest boom in shipping history. We've passed that stage quite clearly. We've moved into a more difficult period, and we're beginning to move out of that difficult period. Andreas Hadjiannis said this week, the crisis is over. And Clarkson again said, shipping is looking at, quote, the best value opportunity for 30 years. So there's enormous opportunities, and that's why we framed this first element of the talk, full steam ahead. The age of uncertainty, that is this extraordinary turbulent situation that we see, that Dave Osler will look at more particularly in terms of the election of Donald Trump, the Brexit, and now we have Catalonia. These are very important political developments that threaten economic well-being, possibly, or do they create opportunities? But they certainly mean very big change. And I think it's impossible for anyone not to look at the origins of those political changes and see that some people feel left behind, that capitalism has not served their interest. And there's a question now, a crisis of capitalism, I think, is fair to say, and we need to find ways of producing a fairer settlement that includes everybody, and everybody feels included, particularly younger people. So I've said enough, and I will move swiftly on to introducing my panel, if they could step up here, please.